Maya, there's lipstick on your collar again. I stared at Derek as he buttoned his shirt, my heart sinking like it had dozens of times before. The coral shade wasn't mine. I wore deep reds, never coral. Baby, you know how Sarah gets at the gym, he said, not even looking at me. She's always hugging everyone. I told you she has boundary issues. But Derek, this is the third time this month. Are you seriously going to make this about your jealousy again? He turned to face me, those green eyes that once made me melt now making me feel small. I can't help that other women find me attractive. Maybe if you trusted me more, I wouldn't feel so suffocated that I act out. I wanted to argue, but the words died in my throat. This was our pattern. I'd find evidence, he'd twist it into my problem, and I'd apologize for not being understanding enough. You're right, I whispered. I'm sorry. That's my girl. He kissed my forehead like I was a child who'd finally learned her lesson. I met Derek 5 years ago through my best friend Lisa at a college party. He was charming, confident, the kind of guy who made everyone in the room laugh. When he asked for my number, I felt like the luckiest girl alive. Maya, you need to open your eyes, my roommate Jenny had said just last week, sitting on my bed with concern written all over her face. This isn't normal behavior. You don't understand him like I do, I'd replied, defensive. He's just insecure because of his ex. She really messed him up. Insecure guys don't cheat, Maya. They communicate. But I wasn't ready to hear that. I couldn't be, because admitting Derek was a cheater meant admitting I'd wasted 5 years of my life on someone who didn't love me. Now, standing in our bedroom as he got ready for work, I pushed down that familiar knot in my stomach. Tonight was our 5th anniversary. I'd planned a party, invited all our friends. Maybe celebrating our relationship publicly would remind him what we had together. I'm excited about tonight, I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Yeah, me too. But he was already checking his phone, smiling at something on the screen. It's going to be unforgettable. Something in his tone made me shiver, but I pushed the feeling away. Tonight would be different. It had to be. Dr. Martinez, I found more messages on his phone. My therapist leaned forward, her expression patient but concerned. What did Derek say when you confronted him? He said Rebecca from work was just being friendly, that I'm paranoid and need to work on my trust issues. I twisted my hands in my lap. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am too suspicious. Maya, finding intimate messages isn't paranoia. It's evidence. But I wasn't ready to hear that either. Derek had convinced me to start therapy 6 months ago, claiming my jealousy problem was ruining our relationship. What he didn't know was that Dr. Martinez was helping me see patterns I'd been blind to. The cheating started 2 years into our relationship. First, it was Sarah from his gym. I'd catch them texting at all hours, laughing at inside jokes I wasn't part of. She's going through a divorce, Derek had explained. I'm just being a good friend. Then came Rebecca from his office. Late-night work meetings that somehow always ended with her perfume on his clothes. You're being threatened by my success, he'd said when I questioned him. I can't help that my career is taking off and women in power find that attractive. The dating apps were the worst. I'd found Tinder, Bumble, even Ashley Madison on his phone. I downloaded those when we were fighting, he'd claimed. I was hurt and acting stupid, but I never met anyone, I swear. Every excuse made sense in the moment. Every manipulation felt like love. Maya, honey, what's wrong with you? My sister Emma had visited last month and immediately sensed the tension. You look exhausted. Just work stress, I'd lied, not wanting to admit that I spent most nights lying awake, wondering where Derek really was. Is Derek treating you well? Of course he is. Why would you ask that? Emma had exchanged a look with Jenny, but neither pressed the issue. They knew I wasn't ready to hear the truth. Even Derek's brother Mike seemed uncomfortable around us. At family dinners, I'd catch him looking at me with something like pity in his eyes. Once, when Derek was in the bathroom, Mike had started to say something. Maya, I think you should know. Know what? But Derek had returned before Mike could finish, and the moment was lost. The worst part wasn't the cheating itself. It was how Derek made me feel guilty for discovering it. He'd isolate me from friends who questioned his behavior, making me choose between him and them. Lisa doesn't want us to work out, he'd say. She's jealous that you found someone when she's still single. Jenny just wants drama in your life because hers is so boring. Slowly, I distanced myself from everyone who cared about me until Derek was my only source of validation. I'm planning our anniversary party for tonight, I told Dr. Martinez during our last session. I think celebrating publicly will help strengthen our bond. She'd looked worried. Maya, what are you hoping to achieve? I want everyone to see how committed we are. Maybe if Derek feels appreciated and loved in front of our friends, he'll stop looking elsewhere. And if that doesn't work? I couldn't answer that question, because the alternative, that Derek would never change, was too painful to consider. Maya, this place looks amazing, Amanda, from work, gave me a hug as she walked into my apartment. 5 years, that's incredible. I smiled, adjusting the flowers for the 10th time. I'd spent all day decorating, cooking Derek's favorite foods, making everything perfect. Our college friends Tom and Rachel were already here, along with Derek's coworker James and several others. Thanks for coming, everyone, I said, watching Derek work the room like he always did. He was charming, funny, the life of the party. This was the man I'd fallen in love with. But something felt off. Derek kept checking his phone, whispering with guests when he thought I wasn't looking. I caught him talking quietly with Tom near the kitchen. Finally being free, I heard him say, but when I approached, they changed the subject. What were you guys talking about? I asked. Just work stuff, Derek said smoothly. Nothing interesting. The party was going well until Derek suddenly stood up, tapping his wine glass with a spoon. My heart started racing. Was this it? Was he finally going to propose? Everyone, can I have your attention, please? The room fell quiet. I stood beside him, my face flushed with excitement and hope. I want to thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate Maya and my 5-year anniversary. People smiled, raising their glasses. I felt warm, loved, surrounded by friends. But I also want to be honest with all of you about something. My smile faltered. Something in his tone didn't sound right. You see, Maya here has been desperately clinging to this relationship for years, even though she knows I've been with other women. The room went dead silent. I felt like I'd been slapped. Derek, what are you doing? I whispered. She's so pathetic that she convinced herself my cheating was just jealousy issues, he continued, his voice growing louder. She blamed herself for my affairs. Can you believe that? Faces around the room showed shock, discomfort, pity. I wanted to disappear. She even went to therapy because I told her she was paranoid. But the truth is, I've been cheating on her for 3 years, and she's been making excuses for me the entire time. Derek, stop, Amanda said, stepping forward. This isn't... No, let me finish. His eyes were bright with cruelty. I want everyone to know how desperate Maya has been. She planned this entire party thinking it would make me love her more, but the reality is, I've been done with this relationship for months. Tears streamed down my face, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't run. So I'm using this opportunity to announce that Maya and I are over. I'm with Christina now. He gestured toward a beautiful blonde woman who'd been quiet all evening. She stepped forward with a satisfied smile, and Derek pulled her close, kissing her deeply in front of everyone. Christina and I have been together for 6 months. Unlike Maya, she doesn't cling to me or make excuses for my behavior. She accepts me as I am. The room erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. Some people started leaving immediately, while others stared in shock. Maya's been so blind that she invited Christina tonight without even realizing who she was. That's how little attention she pays to reality. I finally found my voice. Get out. What? I said get out. All of you, please leave. Except Jenny and Amanda. Derek laughed. This is as much my apartment as yours. No, I said, my voice growing stronger. It's not. My name is on the lease. Get your things and get out. For the first time all evening, Derek looked surprised, but it was too late. Something inside me had broken, but not in the way he intended. Instead of shattering, I felt a cold, clear fury settling over me. This was the man I'd wasted 5 years loving, and now, finally, I could see him clearly. The apartment emptied quickly after my demand. Most guests left without saying goodbye, too uncomfortable to make eye contact. I stood frozen in my living room, surrounded by the ruins of what was supposed to be a celebration. "Maya, honey, are you okay?" Amanda approached cautiously, like I might break. I couldn't answer. I felt hollow, but not in the way Derek had intended. The humiliation was there, burning in my chest, but underneath it was something else, relief. "I'm so sorry," Jenny whispered, putting her arms around me. "I should have said something sooner." "We all should have," said a voice behind me. I turned to see Mike, Derek's brother, standing by the door while Derek and Christina gathered his belongings from the bedroom. "I'm sorry, Maya," Mike continued quietly. "I've known about all of it, the affairs, the lies, the way he talks about you when you're not around. I should have told you." "Why didn't you?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "Because I'm a coward, and because I hoped he might change." Lisa tried to approach me, her face pale with guilt, but I held up my hand. I couldn't deal with her right now. I could see the knowledge in her eyes. She'd known about Christina, maybe about all of them. Derek emerged from the bedroom with a suitcase, Christina clinging to his arm like a trophy. He tried to catch my eye, probably expecting tears, begging, maybe even violence. Instead, I walked calmly to the closet and pulled out the rest of his clothes. "Here," I said, handing him the armload. "I think that's everything." "Maya, you don't have to be so dramatic about this," he said, his tone almost bored. "We both knew this relationship had run its course." I looked at him, really looked at him, for what felt like the first time in years. Without the filter of my excuses, my desperation to make things work, I saw him clearly. He was smaller than I remembered, meaner. The charm that had captivated me was nothing more than a mask for cruelty. "You're right," I said calmly. "It has run its course." He seemed taken aback by my lack of emotion. "Well, good. I'm glad you're finally being mature about this." "Derek?" I said as he reached the door. "Yeah? Don't ever contact me again." Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe even hurt, but Christina tugged on his arm, and they left without another word. "Maya," Amanda said gently, "do you want us to stay?" "Just Jenny," I said, "but thank you, for everything." After Amanda left, I sat on my couch and stared at the mess of the party. Empty glasses, leftover food, decorations that now seemed pathetic instead of festive. "Are you going to cry?" Jenny asked, sitting beside me. I considered the question seriously. "I don't think so." "Are you in shock?" "Maybe." I picked up a photo of Derek and me from the coffee table. We looked happy in the picture, but now I could see what I'd missed. The way his smile didn't reach his eyes, the way he held me like an accessory instead of a partner. "Jenny, am I crazy? Or do I feel relieved?" "You feel relieved because you finally know the truth," she said. "And because you don't have to pretend anymore." She was right. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't have to make excuses for Derek's behavior. I didn't have to convince myself that his cruelty was love. I didn't have to shrink myself to fit into his version of who I should be. "I think," I said slowly, "I'm going to be okay." And for the first time in years, I meant it. "I called in sick today," I told Jenny the next morning as she brought me coffee in bed. "Good. You need time to process." But I wasn't crying or falling apart like I'd expected. Instead, I felt oddly clear-headed, like I'd been living in fog for years and could suddenly see. "Jenny, can I tell you something?" "Anything." "I think I stopped loving Derek months ago. Ma, maybe even years ago." The words felt strange but true. I think I was just holding on to who I thought he was, not who he actually is. Jenny sat on the edge of my bed. "That makes sense. You loved the potential of him, not the reality." I reached for the notebook on my nightstand and started writing. I need to make a list of everything I gave up for him. The list was longer than I expected. My photography hobby, my close friendships, my confidence, my intuition, my boundaries, my self-respect. "I used to take pictures every weekend," I said, staring at the list. Remember? I had that whole portfolio I was building. Derek said it was a waste of time. He said a lot of things. I picked up my phone. I'm calling Emma. My sister answered on the first ring. Maya, how did the party go? He left me for someone else, in front of everyone. Silence, then. I'm getting on a plane. Right now. Emma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I should have said something years ago. We all should have. She arrived that afternoon with takeout and tissues I didn't need. I'm not crying, I told her. That's actually really healthy, she said, studying my face. You seem different. Calmer. I feel like myself again. Like I'm waking up from a really long bad dream. We spent hours talking about everything I'd ignored. The isolation, the manipulation, the way Derek had systematically broken down my confidence until I depended on him for validation. Why didn't I see it? I asked. Because he was good at what he did, and because you loved him. Love makes us blind sometimes. That evening, I called Beth, my college roommate, who Derek had convinced me was a bad influence. Maya? She sounded shocked to hear from me. Oh my God, how are you? I'm single again, I said, and I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything, I'm just glad you called. We talked for 2 hours, and it felt like coming home. I'm starting therapy again, I told Jenny later. But with someone new, someone Derek doesn't know about. That's smart. Dr. Chen was everything Dr. Martinez wasn't. Direct, insightful, specialized in emotional abuse recovery. Maya, she said during our first session, I want you to understand something important. Your strength isn't in surviving Derek's treatment. Your strength is in recognizing it was wrong and choosing to heal. I feel guilty for staying so long. That's normal, but guilt won't serve you now. Forgiveness will, starting with forgiving yourself. Over the following weeks, I started reclaiming pieces of myself I'd lost. I bought a new camera. I made plans with old friends. I started eating foods Derek had criticized. I wore colors he said didn't suit me. You look different, Amanda said when we met for lunch. Lighter. I feel different, like I've been holding my breath for 5 years and can finally exhale. Looking at old photos of myself from before Derek, I could see the gradual change, how my smile had become smaller, how my posture had grown defensive, how the light in my eyes had dimmed. But now, looking in the mirror, I could see that light starting to return. I wasn't the same person I'd been before Derek, and I wouldn't be. I was someone new, someone who'd learned hard lessons about love, boundaries, and self-worth. Someone stronger, someone who would never settle for being anyone's option again. Maya, I owe you an apology. Tom's voice on the phone surprised me. It had been 2 months since the party, and I wasn't expecting to hear from any of Derek's friends. You don't owe me anything, Tom. Yes, I do. I should have said something that night. Hell, I should have said something years ago. I was walking through the park with my new camera, taking pictures of spring flowers. Photography felt like rediscovering a lost language. What's done is done, I said. But thank you for calling. There's something else. Derek and Istina. It's not going well. I stopped walking. Tom, I don't need to know. She's cheating on him, with multiple guys. He found out last week. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of something, not satisfaction, but a kind of cosmic justice. How's he handling it? Badly. He's been calling everyone, saying he can't understand why women keep betraying him. I almost laughed. Does he really not see the irony? Apparently not. He also got passed over for that promotion at work. Something about inappropriate behavior at company events. Mike had been texting me occasionally, just checking in. Through him, I learned that Derek's carefully constructed image was crumbling. The confident, charming man who'd convinced me I was lucky to have him was falling apart. How do you feel about all this? Dr. Chen asked during our session. Oddly neutral, I admitted. I thought I'd feel vindicated, but I mostly just feel indifferent. That's healthy. It means you're truly moving on. And I was. I'd started taking photography classes at the community center, where I met other creative people who appreciated art for its own sake. I'd reconnected with Amanda, who was becoming a real friend rather than just a work colleague. Want to try something new? Beth asked one afternoon. I have a friend I think you might like. I'm not ready to date. It's just coffee. Alex is really kind, and he makes excellent conversation. I almost said no, but something made me reconsider. Maybe it was curiosity about what it felt like to talk to a man who didn't have ulterior motives. Alex was nothing like Derek. Where Derek was flashy and performative, Alex was quiet and thoughtful. Where Derek dominated conversations, Alex asked questions and actually listened to the answers. So you're a photographer? He said over coffee, looking genuinely interested. I'm getting back into it. I stopped for a while. What made you start again? I remembered who I used to be before. I paused. Before I lost myself in a relationship. That takes courage, he said simply. It was such a small thing, but Derek would have made it about him, asked why I'd stopped, what was wrong with me, why I couldn't just be happy with what I had. Alex just accepted my journey without needing to insert himself into it. I also started attending a support group for people recovering from toxic relationships. Hearing other stories helped me understand that I wasn't alone, wasn't uniquely foolish, wasn't weak for staying as long as I did. The hardest part, shared a woman named Grace, was accepting that the person I loved never really existed. I was in love with a mask. Yes, I said. That's exactly it. Walking home from Group 1 evening, I realized something important. Derek's downfall wasn't my victory. My healing was. His consequences were just the natural result of his choices, while my growth was the intentional result of mine. I was building a life based on authenticity instead of manipulation, kindness instead of cruelty, self-respect instead of self-sacrifice. And that life was beautiful. The knock on my apartment door came at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, 6 months after the party. Jenny and I had just finished dinner and were watching a movie when we heard it. Are you expecting someone? Jenny asked. I looked through the peephole and my stomach dropped. Derek stood in the hallway, looking disheveled and desperate. His usually perfect hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled. Don't answer it, Jenny whispered. But I needed to. I needed to see what he wanted, needed to face this final confrontation on my terms. I opened the door, but kept the chain lock engaged. Maya, please, I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about, Derek. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let him in. Jenny positioned herself in the doorway to the kitchen, arms crossed, ready to intervene. Derek looked around our new apartment. Jenny and I had moved out of the old place and found something that was ours, with no memories of him attached. You look good, he said, his voice carrying a note of surprise. I did look good. I'd gained back the weight I'd lost from stress. My skin was clear, my eyes bright. Recovery suited me. What do you want, Derek? I made a mistake, a huge mistake. He sat down without being invited, running his hands through his hair. Christina left me. She was cheating with 3 different guys. 3, Maya. Can you believe that? Yes, actually I can. He looked up sharply. I know I hurt you, but what she did to me was so much worse. How was it worse? Because I loved her. I really loved her, and she threw it away for nothing. The irony was so thick I could taste it. Derek, do you hear yourself? I know you're angry, but I've learned so much about myself these past few months. I understand now what real love is supposed to feel like. Do you? Yes. And I realize that what we had was real. You never betrayed me. You never lied to me. You were loyal, even when I didn't deserve it. I studied his face, looking for sincerity, but all I saw was desperation. So you want to get back together because I'm the safe option? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I was an idiot to let you go. I want to try again. I want to do it right this time. What makes you think you can do it right? Because I know what it feels like to lose someone I love now. Christina breaking my heart taught me empathy. Derek, I said slowly, you didn't learn empathy. You learned consequences. His expression shifted, the mask slipping. Why are you being so cold? The old Maya would have at least listened to me. The old Maya doesn't exist anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've learned my worth, and my worth isn't tied to being your fallback plan. He stood up, frustration replacing the pleading tone. So that's it? You're just going to hold a grudge forever? I'm not holding a grudge. I'm making a choice. This is bullshit, Maya. You're being unreasonable. And there it was, the real Derek, the one who emerged whenever he didn't get his way. You need to leave now, I said calmly. I'm not done talking. Yes, you are, Jenny stepped forward. She asked you to leave. This is between Maya and me. No, I said. This is between you and the door. Use it. When he still didn't move, Jenny pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. Fine, he said, his voice ugly now. But you're making a mistake, Maya. You'll never find anyone who loved you like I did. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing but pity. You're right, I said. I'll never find anyone who loved me like you did. Thank God for that. After he left, I sat on the couch, shaking slightly from adrenaline. How do you feel? Jenny asked. Free, I said. Finally, completely free. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Hope you're having a good evening. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. I smiled, typing back. Me too. The difference was striking. Where Derek's love had felt like drowning, Alex's attention felt like sunlight. Where Derek had demanded I shrink myself to fit his needs, Alex encouraged me to grow. I think, I told Jenny, I'm ready to love someone who actually deserves it. Including yourself? Especially myself. Make a wish, birthday girl. I looked around my living room at the faces illuminated by candlelight. Jenny, Amanda, Emma, Beth, Alex, and surprisingly, Mike, who'd become a genuine friend after cutting ties with his toxic brother. 1 year after the anniversary party from hell, I was celebrating my 27th birthday surrounded by people who actually loved me. What did you wish for? Alex asked as I blew out the candles. I don't need to wish for anything, I said. I already have everything I want. It was true. My photography business was thriving. I'd had my first gallery showing last month. My relationships were healthy and reciprocal. I was in therapy not because someone convinced me I was broken, but because I wanted to keep growing. Maya, can I say something? Mike raised his glass. A year ago, I watched my brother destroy the best thing that ever happened to him. But seeing you now, I realize he didn't destroy you. He freed you. To Maya, Alex added, who taught me what it looks like when someone chooses to heal instead of staying bitter. As everyone toasted, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. My stomach tightened instinctively, but I forced myself to look. Happy birthday. I hope you're doing well. I think about you sometimes and regret. I didn't read the rest. I blocked the number and deleted the message, feeling empowered by how easy it was to dismiss Derek from my life. Everything okay? Alex asked quietly. Everything's perfect, I said, and meant it. Later, after everyone had gone home except Alex, we sat on my balcony looking at the stars. Can I tell you something? I said. Always. A year ago, I thought love meant sacrificing yourself for someone else's happiness. I thought it meant accepting cruelty as passion, manipulation as devotion. And now? Now I know love is supposed to make you more yourself, not less. It's supposed to feel safe, not chaotic. Alex took my hand. You taught me that too. How? By showing me what it's like to be with someone who's whole instead of broken. Someone who chooses me instead of needing me. I'd started volunteering at a domestic violence support center, helping other women recognize the signs I'd missed for so long. It was heartbreaking work, but fulfilling. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self not to waste 5 years on someone who didn't deserve 5 minutes, I'd told Dr. Chen last week. would you have listened? Probably not. Then maybe those 5 years weren't wasted. Maybe they were the price you paid to become who you are now. She was right. The woman I'd become, strong, self-aware, unafraid to walk away from anything that didn't serve me, wouldn't exist without the lessons Derek had inadvertently taught me. I looked in the bathroom mirror before bed, studying my reflection. The face looking back was older, wiser, scarred but not broken. I liked who I saw, not because someone else told me I was beautiful, but because I'd learned to see my own worth. My phone buzzed with another text from that same unknown number. Without even looking, I blocked it again. I didn't need to know what Derek wanted. I didn't need closure from him, or explanations or apologies. I'd found my closure in the life I'd built without him. "Thank you," I whispered to my reflection. "For what?" Alex called from the bedroom. "For that terrible party," I said, loud enough for him to hear. It was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me. He appeared in the doorway, confused but smiling. "Want to explain that?" "Someday," I said, turning off the light. "But not tonight. Tonight, I just want to be present for this life I've built." As I fell asleep in Alex's arms, safe, respected, genuinely loved, I felt gratitude for the journey that had brought me here, even the painful parts, especially the painful parts. They'd taught me that I was worth fighting for, and I'd finally learned to fight